Not every tractor becomes a legend. Some machines promised revolution but delivered heartbreak. Others rolled off assembly lines with fatal flaws their manufacturers ignored until it was too late. Today, we're counting down the 13 worst tractors ever created. Machines that broke down, broke hearts, and broke the trust between farmers and the companies they depended on. These aren't just failures. They're cautionary tales about what happens when ambition exceeds engineering, when marketing overrides testing, and when manufacturers forget that farmers bet their livelihoods on the equipment they buy. Let's dive into agricultural history's biggest disasters. Number 13, Allis-Chalmers Model WC. The Allis-Chalmers Model WC seemed promising when it arrived in the 1930s. This compact tractor featured a 201 cubic inch four-cylinder engine producing around 22 horsepower, adequate power for small farms during the Depression era. Allis-Chalmers sold thousands of Model WCs, and initially farmers appreciated the affordable mechanization it provided. But as competitors improved their designs throughout the 1930s and 40s, the WC's shortcomings became increasingly apparent. The Model WC's ergonomics were primitive even by 1930s standards. The operator station placed the driver in an awkward position with poor visibility and uncomfortable seating. The controls required excessive effort to operate, making long days exhausting. Allis-Chalmers positioned the steering wheel and pedals in ways that forced operators into unnatural postures that caused fatigue and pain. Farmers complained constantly about the WC's uncomfortable operation, but Allis-Chalmers made minimal improvements over the model's long production run. The hydraulic system represented the WC's greatest weakness. While competitors developed capable hydraulics that could lift heavy implements and provide responsive control, the WC's system was weak and unreliable. The hydraulic pump couldn't generate adequate pressure or flow, making implement operation frustratingly slow. Farmers trying to use modern implements found the WC's hydraulics completely inadequate. The system leaked constantly, requiring frequent fluid additions and repairs that wasted time and money. The Model WC also suffered from weak structural components. The rear axle housing cracked under heavy loads, and the transmission housing developed leaks that contaminated the clutch. The final drives wore rapidly when used for heavy pulling, requiring expensive rebuilds. Allis-Chalmers used lightweight castings to reduce manufacturing costs, but those cost savings came at the expense of durability. Farmers working the WC hard found themselves facing constant repairs. By the 1940s, the Model WC had become obsolete compared to competitors like the Ford 9N and Ferguson tractors that offered superior hydraulics, better ergonomics, and modern three-point hitch systems. The WC represented old-fashioned thinking in an era when tractor design was advancing rapidly. Allis-Chalmers eventually replaced it with better models, but the WC's reputation for discomfort and weak hydraulics damaged the company's standing. Today, surviving Model WCs are curiosities rather than practical machines, reminders that early success doesn't guarantee lasting reputation. Number 12, Ford 6000. Ford 6000 arrived in 1961 with enormous expectations. This 66 horsepower machine represented Ford's attempt to compete in the mid-range tractor market with modern styling and features. Ford marketed the 6000 aggressively, and dealers took large orders from farmers eager for Ford's latest offering. Then reality struck, and the 6000 became one of the most spectacular failures in tractor history. The 6000 suffered from catastrophic transmission failures that appeared almost immediately after farmers put the tractors to work. The transmission simply couldn't handle the engine's power, and the loads farmers applied during normal operation. Gears stripped, shafts broke, and entire transmissions self-destructed with alarming frequency. Farmers who'd invested thousands of dollars in new 6000s found themselves with expensive paperweights sitting idle while they scrambled to complete critical field work. Ford's response to the crisis was slow and inadequate. The company initially blamed farmers for misusing the tractors, claiming they were overloading implements or operating incorrectly. This insulted farmers who'd been running tractors for decades and knew perfectly well how to operate equipment properly. As failures mounted and dealer complaints became deafening, Ford finally acknowledged the design flaws. The company instituted a massive recall that became legendary in agricultural circles. The recall involved essentially rebuilding every 6000 transmission with redesigned components. This process took months, leaving farmers without tractors during critical seasons. Ford's dealer network struggled to handle the volume of repairs, and parts shortages delayed fixes further. The entire debacle cost Ford millions of dollars and immeasurable damage to its reputation. Farmers who'd trusted Ford felt betrayed, and many switched to competitors for their next tractor purchase. Ford eventually fixed the transmission problems, but the damage was done. The 6000 became synonymous with failure, and production ended quickly in 1963. Farmers told stories about the 6000 disaster for decades, warning others about buying first-year models or trusting manufacturers' claims without independent verification. Today, the 6000 serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of adequate testing before launching products. Ford learned expensive lessons from this failure, but those lessons came at the cost of its reputation and farmers' trust. Number 11. John Deere 2010. The John Deere 2010 shocked farmers when it proved unreliable. John Deere had built its reputation on quality and dependability, so when the 2010 arrived in the early 1960s with serious problems, it damaged trust in ways that took years to repair. This 46-horsepower machine should have been a solid performer for small to medium operations, but instead it became one of Deere's most embarrassing failures. The engine suffered from chronic reliability problems that contradicted everything John Deere stood for. The four-cylinder diesel developed cooling system issues that caused overheating and premature wear. Head gaskets failed repeatedly, requiring expensive repairs and extended downtime. The fuel injection system proved temperamental, causing hard starting and rough running that frustrated farmers. These weren't isolated incidents. 2010s across the country exhibited the same problems, indicating fundamental design flaws rather than manufacturing defects. The hydraulic system was weak and unresponsive compared to what farmers expected from John Deere. The hydraulic pump couldn't generate adequate pressure or flow for modern implements. Lift capacity was marginal, and the system responded sluggishly to control inputs. Farmers accustomed to Deere's typically excellent hydraulics found the 2010 system completely inadequate. The problem was particularly frustrating because Deere knew how to build good hydraulics. They'd proven that with other models. Yet somehow, the 2010 system was seriously deficient. The transmission also caused problems with difficult shifting and premature wear. The synchronizers wore rapidly, making gear changes difficult and noisy. John Deere eventually addressed many problems through running changes and service bulletins, but the damage lingered. Today, surviving 2010s are relatively rare because most got traded away quickly. Number 10. International Harvester 560. The International Harvester 560 disaster began with corporate pressure and ended with shattered trust. IH rushed the 560 to market in 1958 to compete with John Deere and Ford offerings, but the company skipped adequate testing in its haste to meet launch deadlines. The result was a 66-horsepower machine plagued by catastrophic failures that destroyed IH's reputation for building dependable equipment. The 560's rear end represented its fatal weakness. The final drive and differential assembly couldn't handle the engine's power during heavy pulling. Under load, gears stripped, shafts twisted, and entire assemblies self-destructed. Farmers reported sudden, violent failures that left them stranded in fields with thousands of dollars in damage. The problem wasn't isolated. 560s across the country exhibited the same failures, proving the design was fundamentally flawed. IH initially denied problems, blaming farmers for overloading or misusing the tractors. This response infuriated farmers who knew they were operating within the 560's rated capacity. As failures mounted and complaints became deafening, IH finally acknowledged the design flaws. The company developed stronger components and offered to retrofit affected tractors, but the process took time and left farmers without equipment during critical seasons. The 560 disaster cost IH millions in warranty repairs and untold amounts in lost reputation. Farmers who'd trusted IH for generations felt betrayed. Many switched to competitors for their next tractor purchase, beginning IH's long decline in market share. The company never fully recovered from the damage the 560 inflicted on its reputation. Farmers have long memories, and they told stories about 560 failures for decades. IH eventually fixed the problems, and later 560s were reliable, but it was too late. The damage was done. The 560 became a cautionary tale about rushing products to market without adequate testing and about the importance of standing behind products when problems occur. Today, the 560 serves as a reminder that reputation takes years to build, but can be destroyed in months. IH learned that lesson the hard way, at enormous cost to the company and the farmers who depended on it. Number 9. Oliver 500. Oliver's 500 represented an attempt to quickly expand its product line by importing tractors from British manufacturer David Brown. This 40-horsepower machine arrived in the 1960s, wearing Oliver paint but featuring David Brown engineering. The partnership seemed sensible. Oliver gained a compact tractor without development costs, and David Brown gained access to American markets. Instead, the 500 became a disaster that damaged both companies. The 500's hydraulic system was weak and unreliable by American standards. David Brown had designed the tractor for British farming conditions, where implements were generally lighter and less demanding. American farmers used heavier equipment that overwhelmed the 500's marginal hydraulics. The system couldn't lift properly, responded sluggishly, and leaked constantly. Farmers accustomed to capable American hydraulics found the 500 completely inadequate. Parts support proved catastrophic. Oliver's parts network wasn't prepared to support a tractor featuring British components. When parts failed, and they failed frequently, dealers couldn't get replacements. Farmers faced extended downtime, waiting for parts to arrive from England. This was unacceptable in American agriculture, where weather windows are narrow and delays cost money. Farmers needed tractors that could be repaired quickly with readily available parts, not machines that sat idle for weeks, waiting for components. The 500 also suffered from electrical problems, cooling system issues, and transmission troubles. The electrical system used British components incompatible with American standards. The cooling system was undersized for hot American summers. The transmission shifted poorly and wore rapidly under the heavy loads American farmers applied. None of these problems were insurmountable individually, but together, they created a machine that frustrated everyone who owned one. Oliver sold relatively few 500s before quietly dropping the model. The company realized the import experiment had failed, and that American farmers demanded American-engineered tractors designed for American conditions. The 500 damaged Oliver's reputation and proved that partnerships with foreign manufacturers require more than just repainting equipment. Today, surviving 500s are extremely rare because most got traded away quickly. The 500 serves as a reminder that global partnerships require careful planning and adequate support infrastructure. Number 8. Case 300 Series. Case's 300 Series tractors from the 1950s and 60s disappointed farmers with underpowered engines and awkward transmissions. These 30 to 40 horsepower machines should have been solid performers for small operations, but instead they earned reputations as frustrating, inadequate equipment that couldn't handle the work farmers needed done. Case built its reputation on quality, but the 300 series damaged that reputation significantly. The engines were chronically underpowered for the tractor's weight and the implements farmers tried to use. The four-cylinder gasoline motors struggled with heavy loads, lugging down and overheating during demanding work. Case had sized the engines conservatively, apparently prioritizing fuel economy over performance. But farmers needed power more than they needed marginal fuel savings. The underpowered engines meant slower work, longer days, and frustration when trying to complete time-sensitive field operations. The transmission design was awkward and difficult to use effectively. Case engineered a system that required excessive effort to shift and provided gear ratios that didn't match real-world farming needs. Operators struggled to find appropriate gears for varying conditions, and the heavy shift effort made frequent gear changes exhausting. The clutch required strong leg pressure to operate, and it wore rapidly under normal use. These transmission problems made the 300 series unpleasant to operate day after day. The hydraulic system was weak and unresponsive compared to competitors. Case's hydraulic pump couldn't generate adequate flow or pressure for modern implements. The three-point hitch lifted slowly and lacked the capacity farmers needed. The hydraulic remote valves responded sluggishly, making precise implement control difficult. Farmers trying to use modern equipment found the 300 series hydraulics completely inadequate. Case eventually replaced the 300 series with better designs, but the damage lingered. Farmers who'd bought 300 series tractors felt they'd wasted money on inadequate equipment. Many switched to competitors offering better power and features. The 300 series proved that conservative engineering can be as damaging as overly ambitious design. Farmers need tractors that provide adequate capability, not machines sized for ideal conditions that don't exist in real farming. Today, the 300 series serves as a reminder that underpowered, poorly designed equipment frustrates farmers regardless of the brand name on the hood. Number 7. Massey Ferguson, 1800. The Massey Ferguson. 1800 promised big farm capability with its 180 horsepower 8-cylinder diesel engine and 4-wheel drive. This massive machine from the 1970s represented Massey Ferguson's attempt to compete in the articulated tractor market, dominated by Steiger and Versatile. Instead, the 1800 became an expensive disaster, plagued by unreliable drivetrains and maintenance costs that shocked even farmers accustomed to expensive equipment. The drivetrain couldn't reliably transmit the 8-cylinder engine's power to the ground. The transmission suffered from chronic failures that left farmers stranded. The four-wheel drive system broke frequently, often requiring expensive repairs involving major disassembly. The articulation joint wore rapidly and developed leaks that contaminated the hydraulic system. These weren't minor problems. They were catastrophic failures requiring thousands of dollars and extended downtime. The 8-cylinder engine itself was temperamental and expensive to maintain. The complex motor required frequent adjustments to run properly. The fuel injection system caused constant problems with hard starting and rough running. The cooling system struggled to manage the engine's heat output, leading to overheating during heavy work. When repairs were needed, and they were needed frequently, the costs shocked farmers. Parts were expensive and labor charges mounted quickly because working on the complex engine required extensive time. The hydraulic system leaked constantly from multiple sources. The articulation joint, the remote valves, the power steering system, everything seemed to develop leaks that required constant attention. The hydraulic fluid capacity was enormous, making fluid losses expensive. Farmers spent frustrating hours tracking down leaks and replacing failed seals and hoses. The unreliability meant farmers couldn't depend on the 1800 during critical seasons when equipment failures cost money. Massey Ferguson sold relatively few 1800s before discontinuing production. The model's terrible reputation ensured minimal sales as word spread through farming communities about the problems. Farmers who'd invested in 1800s felt betrayed by Massey Ferguson, and many switched to proven articulated brands like Steiger. Today, surviving 1800s are extremely rare because most got scrapped after their working lives ended badly. The 1800 proved that building large tractors requires more than just installing big engines. Reliability matters more than size. Number 6. Ford NAA Golden Jubilee. Ford celebrated its 50th anniversary in 1953 by introducing the NAA Golden Jubilee, a tractor that should have been a proud achievement, but instead became an embarrassment. This 31-horsepower machine featured special gold-colored trim and commemorative badging, but underneath the celebration lurked serious problems that frustrated farmers and damaged Ford's reputation during what should have been a moment of triumph. The hydraulic system suffered from chronic problems that made implement operation frustrating and unreliable. The hydraulic pump couldn't maintain consistent pressure, causing the three-point hitch to drift downward during operation. Farmers trying to maintain consistent implement depth found the Golden Jubilee's hydraulics completely inadequate. The system also leaked from multiple sources, requiring constant fluid additions and repairs. Ford had recently introduced its live hydraulic system, but the implementation on the Golden Jubilee was seriously flawed. The power takeoff system was weak and prone to failures. The PTO clutch slipped under load, limiting the implements farmers could operate effectively. The PTO shaft assembly wore rapidly, developing excessive play that caused vibration and accelerated wear. Farmers trying to operate mowers, balers, or other PTO-driven equipment found the Golden Jubilee couldn't reliably power modern implements. This was particularly frustrating because the engine had adequate power. The problems were in the PTO system itself. The transmission also caused problems with difficult shifting and premature wear. The gears ground during shifts, and synchronizers wore rapidly. The shift pattern was awkward, making smooth operation difficult. The clutch required frequent adjustment and wore out faster than expected. These transmission problems made the Golden Jubilee unpleasant to operate and expensive to maintain. Farmers expect trouble from cheap tractors, but they expect better from anniversary editions that command premium prices. Ford addressed many of the Golden Jubilee's problems through running changes and improved versions, but the damage to the anniversary celebration was done. Farmers who'd bought Golden Jubilees expecting special quality instead got problem-plagued machines that required constant attention. Many traded them quickly for more reliable equipment. Today, Golden Jubilees have collector value because of their anniversary status, but knowledgeable collectors know these tractors represented Ford at its worst rather than its best. The Golden Jubilee proved that special editions require special attention to quality, not just special paint. Number 5. Allis-Chalmers 7000 series. Allis-Chalmers 7000 series tractors from the 1970s featured modern styling and impressive power ratings between 150 and 200 horsepower. These machines should have established Allis-Chalmers as a leader in large tractors, but instead, the 7000 series became notorious for electrical problems and poor reliability that destroyed farmer confidence in the company. The failures were so widespread and serious that they contributed to Allis-Chalmers' eventual exit from the tractor business. The electrical system represented the 7000 series' greatest weakness. The complex wiring harness developed shorts and open circuits with alarming frequency. Connections corroded rapidly, causing intermittent problems that frustrated farmers and mechanics attempting diagnosis. The sophisticated electronic monitors that were supposed to be selling points instead became sources of constant trouble. Sensors failed, gauges gave false readings, and entire electrical systems would suddenly malfunction, leaving farmers with expensive paperweights. The six-cylinder diesel engine suffered from fuel injection problems that caused hard starting and rough running. The injection pump was temperamental and expensive to repair. The turbocharger failed prematurely on many machines, requiring expensive replacement. The cooling system struggled to manage heat during heavy work, leading to overheating that caused additional engine damage. These engine problems contradicted Allis-Chalmers' marketing claims about reliability and performance. The transmission also caused chronic problems. The power shift system that was supposed to provide smooth operation instead delivered harsh shifts and premature wear. The clutch packs wore rapidly, requiring expensive rebuilds. The hydraulic control system for the transmission developed leaks and malfunctions that made operation unpredictable. Farmers couldn't depend on the 7000 series during critical seasons when equipment failures directly impacted income. Allis-Chalmers struggled to address the 7000 series problems through service bulletins and warranty repairs. But the issues were too fundamental and widespread. Word spread through farming communities about the problems, and sales collapsed. Farmers who'd been loyal to Allis-Chalmers for generations switched to competitors offering more reliable equipment. The 7000 series contributed significantly to Allis-Chalmers' financial troubles and eventual exit from tractor manufacturing. Today, surviving 7000 series tractors are relatively rare because most got scrapped after their troubled working lives ended. The 7000 series serves as a cautionary tale about the importance of reliability over styling. Number 4. International Harvester 2+2 series. The International Harvester 2+2 series represented radical thinking about tractor design. These articulated machines from the 1970s and 80s featured a unique bent configuration, with the operator cab positioned over the articulation joint rather than at the rear. IH marketed this design as revolutionary, claiming it provided better weight distribution and traction. Instead, the 2+2 became notorious for awkward handling and poor sales that contributed to IH's financial troubles. The articulated design created handling characteristics that farmers found unnatural and difficult to master. The pivot point location meant the tractor turned differently than conventional machines, requiring different driving techniques that many operators never fully adapted to. Backing up was particularly challenging, with the unusual geometry making precise positioning difficult. Farmers trying to maneuver in tight spaces or back up to implements found the 2+2 frustrating and time-consuming compared to conventional tractors. The cab position over the articulation joint created a rough, uncomfortable ride. Every movement of the articulation joint transmitted directly to the operator, making the 2+2 unpleasant during long days. The visibility, while good forward, was poor when trying to monitor rear implements or backup. The operator station design seemed to prioritize novelty over comfort and functionality. Farmers spending 12-hour days in the cab found the 2+2 significantly less comfortable than conventional tractors. The mechanical systems also caused problems. The articulation joint developed leaks and wear that required expensive maintenance. The drivetrain couldn't reliably transmit power through the unusual configuration, leading to failures and repairs. The hydraulic system struggled with the demands placed on it. The electrical system was complex and prone to problems. These mechanical issues, combined with the handling difficulties, created machines that farmers couldn't depend on. IH sold relatively few 2+2 tractors despite extensive marketing efforts. Farmers rejected the unusual design, preferring conventional configurations they understood. The 2+2's poor sales and expensive warranty repairs contributed to IH's financial crisis that eventually led to the company's merger with Case. Today, surviving 2+2 tractors are curiosities rather than practical machines. The 2+2 proved that radical design changes require compelling advantages to overcome farmer conservatism, and awkward handling isn't compelling. Number 3. Fiat 8090. The Fiat 8090 from the 1980s represented an attempt to establish the Italian manufacturer in North American markets. This 80-horsepower machine featured European engineering and styling, but it proved completely inadequate for American farming conditions and dealer support expectations. The 8090 became a cautionary tale about assuming European tractors could succeed in America without significant adaptation. The transmission was fragile by American standards. Fiat had designed it for European farming conditions, where operators treated equipment more gently and worked smaller fields. American farmers used tractors harder, covering more acres with heavier implements. The 8090's transmission couldn't handle American conditions, suffering from chronic failures that left farmers stranded. Gears stripped, synchronizers wore rapidly, and entire transmissions required expensive rebuilds with alarming frequency. The dealer support outside Europe was catastrophic. Fiat's American dealer network was small and inexperienced with the brand. When parts failed, and they failed frequently, dealers couldn't get replacements quickly. Farmers faced extended downtime waiting for parts to arrive from Italy. This was completely unacceptable in American agriculture, where narrow weather windows mean equipment must be repaired immediately. Farmers need dealers who stock parts and understand their equipment, not dealers learning as they go. The hydraulic system was weak compared to American expectations. The hydraulic pump couldn't generate the flow or pressure American farmers needed for modern implements. The three-point hitch lifted slowly and lacked capacity. The hydraulic controls were awkward and positioned inconveniently. American farmers accustomed to capable hydraulics found the 8090 completely inadequate for their equipment and working methods. Fiat sold relatively few 8090s in North America before withdrawing from the market. The company realized that success required more than just shipping European tractors across the ocean. American farmers demanded tractors designed for American conditions, backed by competent dealer networks. The 8090's failure cost Fiat its opportunity in the world's largest tractor market. Today, surviving 8090s are extremely rare in America because most got exported or scrapped. The 8090 proved that global markets require local adaptation and support. Number 2. Ford 4000. The Ford 4000's position near the top of this list will shock people who remember seeing them everywhere in the 1960s and 70s. Ford sold tens of thousands of 4000s, making it one of the most common tractors of its era. But popularity doesn't equal quality, and the 4000 earned its terrible reputation through chronic hydraulic leaks and weak rear axles that frustrated a generation of farmers who'd trusted Ford. The hydraulic system leaked from every possible source. The pump housing leaked, the remote valve assembly leaked, the three-point hitch cylinders leaked, the power steering system leaked. Farmers spent frustrating hours constantly adding hydraulic fluid and attempting repairs that rarely provided lasting fixes. The problem was fundamental. Ford had designed the hydraulic system with components that couldn't maintain seals under normal operating pressures and temperatures. Every 4000 owner has stories about hydraulic fluid puddles and constant top-offs. The rear axles were chronically weak for the tractor's power and the loads farmers applied. The axle housings cracked under heavy stress. The final drives wore rapidly during hard pulling. The differential assembly developed problems that required expensive repairs. Ford had apparently undersized the rear end to save manufacturing costs, but those savings came directly from farmers who faced constant repairs and downtime. The rear axle problems were so common that repair shops developed expertise rebuilding 4,000 rear ends. The three-cylinder diesel engine, while reasonably reliable, was underpowered for the tractor's weight and the work farmers needed done. The 55 horsepower rating was optimistic, and real-world performance was marginal. Farmers found the 4000 struggled with heavy implements, lugging down and losing speed during demanding work. The underpowered engine combined with the hydraulic leaks and weak rear axles created a tractor that frustrated everyone who owned one. What makes the 4000 particularly notable is that Ford knew about these problems but continued production for years with minimal improvements. The company apparently decided that fixing the fundamental design flaws would cost more than paying warranty claims and accepting the reputation damage. This cynical calculation damaged Ford's standing in agricultural markets for decades. farmers felt betrayed by Ford's refusal to properly address known problems. Today, 4000s are common because so many were built, but knowledgeable farmers avoid them despite their availability. The 4000 proves that high production numbers don't indicate quality. Sometimes they just mean lots of people got stuck with the same bad tractor. Number 1. Massey Ferguson 35X. The Massey Ferguson 35X takes the top spot on our countdown of the worst tractors ever created. This compact 44 horsepower machine from the 1960s should have been a solid performer, but instead, it became legendary for catastrophic clutch and gearbox failures that destroyed Massey Ferguson's reputation for building dependable compact tractors. The 35X represents everything that can go wrong when cost-cutting and poor engineering collide. The clutch was criminally inadequate for the engine's power and the work farmers expected from the tractor. The clutch disc was too small and used friction material that wore rapidly. Under normal loads, not abuse, just normal work, the clutch would slip, overheat, and fail. Farmers found themselves replacing clutches every few hundred hours, rather than every few thousand hours, as they'd expect from quality equipment. The frequent clutch replacements meant extended downtime and constant expense that made the 35X uneconomical to own. The gearbox was even worse than the clutch. The transmission suffered from chronic failures that often required complete replacement rather than repair. The gears were inadequately hardened and wore rapidly under load. The synchronizers failed prematurely, making shifting difficult and noisy. The shift forks bent or broke, leaving the tractor stuck in gear. The entire transmission design seemed to prioritize manufacturing cost over durability, and farmers paid the price through constant repairs and replacements. The problems weren't isolated incidents. 35X tractors across the world exhibited the same failures. This proved the issues were fundamental design flaws rather than manufacturing defects or user error. Massey Ferguson initially tried blaming farmers for overloading or misusing the tractors, but the evidence became overwhelming that the 35X was simply poorly engineered. The company eventually acknowledged the problems and developed improved components. But by then, the damage to Massey Ferguson's reputation was done. Farmers who'd bought 35X tractors felt betrayed by Massey Ferguson. Many had been loyal MF customers who'd trusted the brand. Based on previous positive experiences, the 35X destroyed that trust and drove customers to competitors. Dealers hated the 35X because warranty claims and angry customers dominated their time. Mechanics dreaded working on them because the repairs were extensive and the problems would just recur. The 35X damaged everyone it touched. What makes the 35X particularly egregious is that Massey Ferguson knew how to build good compact tractors. They'd proven that with earlier models. The 35X represented a deliberate decision to cut costs without adequate engineering validation. The company apparently believed they could save manufacturing expense without consequences, but instead, they created one of agriculture's most notorious failures. Today, the 35X serves as the ultimate cautionary tale about the importance of proper engineering and testing before launching products. These 13 tractors remind us that even legendary manufacturers can fail spectacularly when ambition exceeds engineering or cost-cutting overrides quality. Every failure taught lessons, sometimes to the manufacturers who built them, sometimes just to the farmers who suffered through owning them. These machines broke down, broke hearts, and broke trust between farmers and the companies they depended on. But they also remind us to appreciate the truly good tractors, the machines that work day after day, year after year, earning their keep and their reputations honestly. Which of these disasters do you remember? Share your stories in the comments below. And if you appreciate honest talk about agricultural equipment, hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into farming history.